Welcome back, everyone. I'm JTXRP, and today I'm going to be creating a small series of videos on helping hopefully bridge the divide between crypto projects and between token holders and community members. Now, I plan on providing helpful key advice for crypto projects in this series of videos, but I also am going to be approaching it from the perspective of a token holder, as well as, I have my own area of expertise as well that's kind of helping out this on top of helping out other token holders and community members to understand, like I said, a few key things. So today's video is going to be on feedback, psychological safety, as well as FUD and CCC. And if you don't know what those are, we'll define them in just a few seconds. But first, make sure to smash that like button if you like this video, if you found it helpful, and if you want to support the channel in some small way. I am funded by all of you between your watch time and your donations. So without further ado, let's get into the definitions I was just referring to. So first, we're going to define FUD, which I'm sure many of you in the crypto sphere are familiar with, but there may be some that are not. So for the sake of it, it's fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And so FUD can be any action or comment or anything that can be taken in that way. So on the opposite end of that, we have CCC, which when I was looking up the opposite, because I didn't even know what it is, to be completely honest, it was confidence, certainty, and conviction. So if you have an opposite, if you know on the other side, happy to hear that in the comments below. But that's what I looked up, and that makes total sense to me. So we're going to go with that for the definitions of this video. So when I say CCC, just think confidence, certainty, and conviction. So feedback, we're going to define it as a critical assessment on information produced about the result of a process or activity. So feedback is what you need to be able to change or adapt once you have transparency into a situation. So next, and the final definition, so we'll get started with the full video, is psychological safety. Now, psychological safety is the belief that you will not only not be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, mistakes, but in teams, it refers to team members believing that they can take risks without being shamed by other team members. In psychological safe teams, members feel accepted, respected, and so on. And it is actually the most studied enabling condition in group dynamics and team learning research. So Google's done a huge thing about it. You can go look that up. But without further ado, we'll get into the meat of this video. Now, I want to take a quick second and say this may not apply to all projects, like meme tokens, for example, or other generic projects on the blockchain that may be like NFTs, for example, but it can still there may be morsels that you may want to take into account as projects. For projects that are truly trying to build on the blockchain, whether it be a product or service, or such, this is going to apply, or it could also apply to any small business. So with that being said, why is feedback and psychological safety so important to projects and token holders? Every project, product, or service relies on customer or user feedback. And if it's going to be successful, that is. The communities of crypto projects should be a place where feedback is taken and trust is nurtured, is going to be the hypothesis or the statement of this video, I guess you could say. But again, we'll just want to focus on a couple of quotes as we get started. There is no failure, only feedback. And that's attributed to Robert Allen. And then there's another quote: feedback is inevitable until it stops. If it stops completely, you have done something horribly wrong. And that's me. And that's by James Thomas. But we'll see how that sticks, right? But that's what I'm saying. I'm going with it for now. Again, comments below if you disagree. Regardless, feedback is the source a project needs to continually improve. Whether you are Blockbuster, Motorola, these things, we know we're replaced. And so for projects, this keeps them from making critical errors in planning and execution when the focus on psych safety in particular is inside the team. However, in creating a psychologically safe community is also extremely important for weak signal detection and serving the community. So for token holders, this can be a key indicator of a project's success or not. How open is the project to feedback? How does the project respond to your questions and even their harshest critics? Do you see them taking action on key feedback items from the community? Regardless of the question, does the response given or action taken from the project build your trust? These responses can be key and leading indicators to success, short term or long. And this is something I use very often to help me understand where my projects are at and how the teams are doing and the communities that they are building. Communication in crypto is something that has become so binary. It is either bullish or bearish. There is either fear, uncertainty, and doubt, or FUD, as we've already described it, or CCC, confidence, certainty, and conviction. I think it's very important for both token holders and projects to look at these things in a more of a spectrum, especially when it comes to community interactions. Many people that are running these projects fear FUD, like they fear the fear, uncertainty, and doubt created by the community, influencers, and other people. And I get it. It may affect token holder price, confidence, certainty, or conviction of the holders. What I feel like is missing from a project's perspective sometimes is even while there is fear, uncertainty, and doubt, there's also a massive, and I think that the holders need to understand this too, is that there's a massive sunk cost bias when it comes to being a token holder. And I say that to say that this bias is because you've invested, you have a bias that's going to do well as a confirmation bias that you want to be told things are going well because maybe you have invested so much that you actually need it to go well. But I feel like that's again a perspective that projects don't really, they fear the FUD, but they also don't get that there is a huge set of biases on the other side pulling these and weighting these things down. Sure, some things can tip the scales. Regardless, and stick with me after I say this because it's going to throw off a lot of you. It is my firm belief that FUD is almost completely controllable and is mitigated by the project's interactions with the community, or lack thereof. So, regardless of what the community says, it is the project's interactions that's going to breed trust or not. As crypto projects, you have a choice of whether or not to respond and how. And token holders would be smart to observe these projects' interactions and how they respond, because they might tell you and be senses to certain things within the project. Whether we talk about FUD or confidence, certainty, and conviction, what we are really talking about is trust. And at some point, you may make a decision based on trust as a token holder to buy, sell, or hold. One of my recent favorite books is The Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey. And in this book, he talks about the equation and factors for trust. The two main components are character and competence. And each of them has a factors that help to compose and demonstrate character and competence that help to build trust. So you can see them in the image here. But now I won't recant the whole book, and obviously I don't want to. And I can't speak for every token holder, project, or circumstance, but it has been my observation that regardless of the interactions of a person in the community, that a project can communicate in such a way to build trust. And so, I mean, if anything, that's evident of many scams out there, but we won't go there because that's a whole nother conversation, right? But for the sake of this video, we will assume good intent on the projects and everything, because I really do believe I'm obviously here supporting the XRPL and many of the projects. So I do believe good intent on the ones that I cover. And so, and of course, I want to assume good intent in the first place. So that being said, this video is supposed to help projects be better. And please always look out for the scams and do your own research. I can't promote that enough. The space can be really good and it can be really bad on the other end. So always go do your own research. With that said, I will give a few examples of these, and these are not perfect examples, by the way, but you may be able to come with better ones, but these are the ones I have. So situation A, we'll look at the scenario where there may be an opportunity. Community member A, it seems, and this is the community member speaking. Community member A, it seems to be implied that X functionality is already working in beta. Have you actually gotten it to work yet? Project member A, please feel free to DM me your questions. And so, how does this look in your channels, in your project? Are you breeding transparency and psychological safety? As a token holder, does it breed confidence or trust in you to see these different side conversations going on? Does that make you feel safe to ask questions in the future, or does it help you bring up things that may improve the project? So now let's look at the scenario again where a project can address that fear, uncertainty, and doubt and hopefully breed confidence by their response. So again, community member A asks, it seems to be implied that X functionality is already in beta. Have you actually gotten it to work yet? Project member A responds, I appreciate the question. We have not gotten X functionality to work as of yet. We have a beta group ready for testing when that time comes. We are confident in our ability to deliver this feature, and we stand on our skills and past reputation for delivery. I know it must have taken courage to ask that question. Anyone with the same question is welcome to join our beta group for when that feature is ready. So again, I touched on several points that you're going to see in the image to the right here for that question that can help build trust in that awkward and hard moment where maybe a project has to say no. And I'm sure there's going to be many projects that may be in that scenario, and that may be actually one of the hardest to address. Will it be enough for some, but not for others? Maybe, maybe not. Either way, if a community member read that in chat and in context, I believe it would inspire more trust in that particular situation. Again, this community member's perspective. But let's look at another example. This is also something that I see happening in different groups, and I think it's also something we need to discuss. Another example, community member B. I know project XYZ was built for this space, but this major thing has happened, and I feel like it gives ABC project an edge. So, project member B deletes the above message and relevant conversation in the Telegram or Discord group, hoping no one saw. Deleting messages is almost never the right answer. Even if you, the project, have done something completely wrong or someone is acting completely unruly, deleting their messages for any reason is, I think, just wrong. For the exception of the possibility of, I guess, if you as a project realize that, you are, if you're being racist, for example, or there's, you obviously would be offending a large amount of people that, and you're acting as the project in such a way you have control over you as the project. Deleting other people's messages, not really a great move on any account unless it is spam. Trolls happen as well, or people are posting, things that are derogatory or obscene inside of your chats. I get those circumstances, and you feel free to put down more in the comments below that maybe I haven't thought of. But also, anything that probably doesn't have anything to do with the project should probably be deleted as well, just because it's falling outside of, people, like maybe that falls into spam and so forth, where people are completely talking about politics inside of your chat. Just say, hey, here's the guidelines. You can keep those things as well. It also shows how you respond. So I understand it's easier to delete messages sometimes than to deal with the situation. And sometimes that temptation is there. But even that shows about a project. Before a project deletes a message, I think it would be helpful to ask yourself some of these following questions. What opportunity am I going to miss by deleting this message? If people saw this message is deleted, would it cause distrust in my project or community? If people saw this deleted, would it reduce the safety of the community to give vital feedback? Have I told the community through a policy that they should expect certain messages to be deleted by XYZ requirements? You might want to ask yourself those questions as a project. Now, as a token holder, if I see a project delete messages, this is me asking myself, what are they trying to hide? It's usually one of the things coming up in this space that I ask myself. Was it really that bad and needed to be deleted? Is the project going to be open to feedback enough to be successful long term, or will this affect my investment in a positive or negative way? Now that we've talked about deleting messages, let's see how that interaction might have been different. So, community member B, I know Project XYZ was built for this space, but this major thing has happened, and I feel like it gives ABC project an edge. Project member B responds to community member B by saying, Project XYZ acknowledges a huge change in the market brought up by community member B. We appreciate our community's feedback, and rest assured our leadership team is meeting to discuss this, our options, and how we can continue to perform and lead the way. This same team has brought you H, J, and K, and will continue to strive to bring these results. We appreciate any constructive feedback or ideas during this time. So, projects, again, it's how you react to the situation that people and token holders are going to look at. If the price drops in the token, you can only control the way that you act or react to the situation. If people read through your community and they are invested in what is going on, and again, remember, we talked about the token holders usually have, should I say, not they have, they usually have a strong sunk cost bias or a confirmation bias that also helps you in such a way. And it's something that as token holders you should be aware of. But nonetheless, I digress. Get back to the situation. If people read through your community and they are invested in what is going on, the best thing you can do is to have a powerful and sincere response at the end. And I say sincere to be human. Additionally, the fact that open conversation about what people think about my project and another project that may even be a competitor is one of the most valuable things you could hope for in your crypto community, whatever that would be. Respectfully, if you somehow manage to create a respectful and safe place or space that you can get like a free focus group between comparing your and another project without having to pay for it, that's a huge marketing benefit. And I think that is something that, if you create a safe and psychologically safe space where community members are free and open to talk about that in a respectful and, nice, I won't say nice, in a respectful way, joining those key moments and asking open-ended questions could give you extremely valuable insights. I'm sure Blockbuster had people in their community. Granted, their communities might have been a little bit different back then, but I'm sure they had people in their community telling them about Netflix. And if they acted early enough, maybe we would be watching Blockbuster on TV instead. But your community members could be the canary in your coal mine, or whether or not you need to take action as a project, and maybe what that needs to be. Creating a safe and respectful environment for those voices to flourish should be the goal of every project. And I say every project that has, of course, as I stated before, a firm product or service that they are trying to deliver. And especially where the token holders themselves are users. Like, that's like, absolutely you need to do this if that is the case where your token holders are your users. On the other end, a safe community is one of the greatest things I look for in a project. I am not the average token holder. I'm not the average person, and you can probably see by my views, I'm probably not the most popular one, and that's fine with me to a great degree. But again, I'm maybe not the average person. My weirdness aside, though, I try to read the whole context and take price and sentiment into consideration. When I look at many other factors as well, the above response, along with the context, would make me feel more trusting in the project and safer as well. So again, I'm talking about this right here, where I talked about the good responses that can build trust. Like, if I'm reading through the chats and I see these questions, but I see the fact that these projects are responding in a way that builds trust, that is super powerful to me. And I believe other people will react to that as well. And I've seen it happen. So again, my personal experience, take it for what you will. So when you interact with a crypto project community, you may see things that affect that trust. You may see a community member ask questions, may make comments, or even use profanity. You may see a bunch of people join and feel like you made a good decision because other people are joining. You may see many people leave and feel like you made a bad decision because maybe the price is tanking or maybe many people are migrating over here. At the end of the day, you as a project get to decide how you are building trust with your community and what you will or will not allow in your community groups, telegrams, discords, etc. How you go about it will either create a safe and extremely valuable feedback loop for you, or it'll create an echo chamber of doom, which we, of course, have known Blockbuster and many other people have suffered from. As token holders, you have to decide how much you trust a project and make a decision off of it. Now, crypto projects specifically, there may be token holders that are not your users, and that as a project, you should still create a safe space for in your community. You never know what will turn up. On the other side, if I as a token holder am not the intended user of a project, that my feedback, no matter how valuable, will be weighted against the users of the actual system. Just because I've invested $100,000 into the token does not mean what is being built on it is for me necessarily. How much more powerful and safe is a community when I'm not the user and the company is open to my feedback, especially valuable feedback? Now, token holders as well, you have the ability, and this is one of the things I love, I just want to cover really quickly in this video, is you have the ability to help your project without being a direct investor. You have the ability to create graphics, respond to the community, promote a project. And I say promote, like not paid promotions, but like, hey, this is cool, which of course, if we're in a project, chances are we're already doing. But this is also something that I think if you as community members would love to partner with projects in certain ways to help that particular community, I think that's also very valuable and something that many people, as not investors but as token holders, that would be very valuable to the project, and I'm sure they would lean on and leverage that help depending upon what it was. But before you go, I have some questions to help projects and what I ask myself as a token holder. For projects, I have some final questions, as I mentioned before, to ask yourselves when running your communities. How do my or my team's interactions produce a psychologically safe community? How am I acting on the feedback from the community that it's giving me? Is what I am saying or communicating building trust by demonstrating my character or competence? How are you lifting up and appreciating the canaries in your coal mine? Those with hard questions or more critical comments? Am I or my team so afraid of FUD that we overly restrict our communities? Am I missing out on an opportunity to build trust or possibly pivot from the information that we might not get from having a more psychologically safe community based on my response? These are some questions I ask myself as a token holder. Does the project have my trust only based on the technology, partnerships, and other fundamentals I believe in, but do they act like a team who creates a safe, explorative space for their community so that their products or services can grow and adapt with time? Am I so invested I cannot see if this project is doing bad or not? Do I have a sunk cost bias? Do I want or need this investment to work so badly that I am blind to news and information and questions that I don't necessarily want to hear? And this goes back to confirmation bias, that I want to hear what I want to hear, and I want it to confirm what I know. So this is the key indicators of this, by the way. If I'm just to take a quick sidestep, key indicators: you might have a sunk cost bias. Are you feeling defensive? Are you feeling angry? Are you feeling really fear that makes you feel anger or defensive? These are things that whenever you see another community member react with news and information that you don't necessarily feel great about, that might be a good indicator of like, hey, I need to stop and ask myself, do I have a sunk cost or a confirmation bias that I need to be aware of? And the last and final question: am I willing to kill my sacred cow? And at what point am I willing to do it? Um, at what point does the project no longer have my trust? Is essentially what you're asking yourself. I hope you found this helpful. And if you're a project or a token holder and you want to add to this conversation, I would love your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to support the channel and you actually found this helpful, well, you can do so anonymously through a donation to Buy Me a Coffee on this option. Or I also have my XRP address where you can donate XRP. And so that's on the screen as well. But again, hope you found this helpful. I'm JTXRP, and I'm out.